Hello, and welcome back to our Let's Play of Planescape Torment. Apologies for yet another abrupt ending for the last episode. I was getting very close to time, and I could have swore I saw someone in orange in here. We're going to go double check, but I want to finish my conversation with the succubus. I really like how she looks.
How may I help you?
But we didn't try to keep everything below 30 minutes. We just didn't have time to finish everything. We already did that. Have you ever heard of a night hag named Brothal? I'm familiar with the name. Balcom Grace pauses and thinks for a moment. Rumors cluster thickly about that name, and most tend to discount her as a myth. But I suspect that she did exist and that she made quite an impression in the cage during her stay here. She looks puzzled. Why do you ask? Well, I intend to seek her out. Grace raises an eyebrow. Truly. I find myself compelled to ask why. Because she has I need information that she has. Is this information available from no one else? I suspect that Ravel possesses the knowledge I need. That only Ravel possesses the knowledge I need.
Updated my journal.
Grace rests her hand slightly on your arm. Consider this. If Ravel does indeed exist, then she is extremely powerful and cunning. If a fraction of the stories of her activities are true, then she is a creature that has discovered new meanings of evil. To search for her is not a quest to be undertaken lightly. I realize that. Do you know anything else about Ravel? She was said to be one of the hags of the Grey Waste, and that she was believed to possess powers and a cunning far beyond those of her sisters. She came to Sigil long ago, and in addition to the evils she committed during her stay, rumor has it that her actions threatened the cage itself. Now she primarily exists only as fiction, a figure in children's stories. She pauses. I imagine the Lady of Pain dealt with her as all threats to Sigil are dealt with. How?
Updated my journal.
Ravel was most likely sent to a maze, one of the lady's prisons. Obviously we know what mazes are. We got sent to one ourselves and we escaped, but I want to see what she has to say. Mazes? What are those?
Updated my journal.
Grace places her hands together, thumbs and fingers touching, forming a rough circle. The lady is said to have the power to take pieces of Sigil. You watch in surprise as a ghostly image from Grace's little finger pulls itself from the hand and floats into the air, curling into a small circle, and make a maze. Go on. The small ghostly circle floats in the air, then begins slowly rotating. The piece of Sigil she takes and holds the prisoner. The piece of Sigil she takes holds the prisoner. There's no escaping being mazed. That's not true. It can happen at any time while walking down the street, through a door. She claps her hands. And then you are somewhere else. Inside the ghostly circle, you can suddenly see a flicker of movement, like someone walking inside. Go on. I see. Grace continues, the tiny ghostly maze reflected in her eyes. It is said that there is a portal that leads out of each maze, but they are difficult to find. Perhaps they are left in to give the prisoner hope. Perhaps they are left in to torture the prisoner. The ghostly maze dissolves. Perhaps it's both. I see. Can you tell me more about this plane that Ravel is from? Grey Waste? A blighted plane that lies effectively between Baator and the Abyss. It is frequently a battleground in the Blood War. Is there anyone else who might know about her? Someone in the feast hall may know more of her.
Updated my journal.
I'll ask some other questions. Would you like to join me on... Oh! Can we get her? Would you like to join me on my travels? Anna, oh god. Anna stiffens, then starts muttering under her breath. Who's to say she'll be coming with us? We don't need the likes of her, so we don't. Mort. Bar that, fiendling. Mort clicks his teeth together. I'm all for the succubus coming with us. The powers know you're about as fun as passing through a caltrip through the battle. Whatever. You best be latch your bone box, Skull, or I'll rattle you so hard they'll be picking your teeth off the spire. Travel with you. Fall from Grace smiles slightly. She seems to be ignoring your companions. That's rather forward of you. Sweetheart, that is the way I am. Oh, please, please, let me get her. Please let me get her. Can we get her? Oh, I appreciate your candor. I shall counter with some of my own. Why should I travel with you? You mean you wouldn't be interested in traveling with an immortal amnesiac who's searching the plains for himself? What a great response. What a great response. Oh, I would be extremely interested. She smiles slightly. Such a suggestion is intriguing. Make no mistake about that. Then would you like to travel with me then? If you wish me to, then there is something you must do for me. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Oh, please let me have her. There are 10 students in this establishment. I would like you to speak to all of them, then return to me with your thoughts. Then we shall see if we shall travel together or not. I'll go speak with them then. I'll return when I've spoken to all of them.
Updated my journal.
Now, hopefully, the guy in the orange is here. And I can get in. I had absolutely no clue. Oh, please let me get her. Look at her. She looks so awesome. I wish I could inspect her and see what she is. But I don't care. I don't care what she is. I'll take her. Alright, let's talk to Delora. This dark-haired, pale-skinned woman has a cultured, refined look about her. As she turns to you, you note that her eyes, which you had previously thought to be gray, are the color of brushed steel. Greetings. The woman's voice is soft, calm, and without inflection. It has a certain far-away quality, as if somehow not attached to her. Greetings. I'm called Delora. May I serve you somehow? In what ways can you serve me, Delora? She blinks her eyes, then touches her hand to her heart, bowing her head slightly. I'm able to debate any scholarly or academic matter quite proficiently, if that is your wish. I'm also well versed in various games of strategy. Should you wish to play something, I have the materials for a few such games here. I was hoping something of a more physical nature. Can we wrestle? Can we play a game then? Of course. Is there anything in particular you wish to play? No. I don't really remember any games. Here. Then allow me to show you one. Delora brings out a thin, lacquered box, which unfolds into a small board marked with a grid. The contents of the box prove to be a number of polished stone chips, half of them black, half of them white. This game goes by many names. Shall I explain the rules to you? Yes, please. Delora explains to you the rules of the game. How the chips are moved, how one bests one's opponent. It seems somehow faintly familiar to you. The rules are simple, yes? Is this chess? I mean, I could play chess, I know how, but I'm not going to be any challenge at all. Anyway, but a great deal of complexity lies within the game itself. It takes a great deal of time to master. Shall we play? I mean, that sounds exactly like chess. Let's do it. Oh, we get a memory. Oh, that's nice. As you play, you come to realize that you've done so before. You recall various ploys and strategies that that have won you previous games, and employ every trick you know to beat her. Suddenly, a strange feeling comes over you, a memory trying to surface. You will absolutely allow that memory. Memories of a smoke-filled field of battle begin to fill your mind. Atop a great hill overlooking the fighting you sat, mounted upon a massive four-legged beast. Braying of horns carried your orders to the troops below. Even as you watched, your forces divided, fleeing left and right, as the foreign army forced its way up the hill to slay the enemy lord. You. The fools, you had thought, lips curling to a wicked smile. My knights shall charge down the hillside and stop their advance in an instant. And at that very moment, my retreating footmen will fall and to crush their flanks. Ah, yet another victory soon to be mine. You suddenly realize Delora is watching you intently. Are you feeling well? We might take up the game another day if you so wish. No, let's continue the game. Delora plays excellently, counteracting all but your most crafty moves. But eventually, your feints and calculating maneuvers win over her well-crafted strategies. She nods approvingly as she begins to put the game away. You're a fine player, perhaps a master. I commend you for your skill. Thanks. You mentioned debating before. Delora nods. That is correct. I am neither a tome nor a tutor. I have no desire to educate my patrons. Should you have a matter to discuss, however, the 15 factions and their effect on Sigillian politics, the most effective battle stratagems for warring in Acheron, the meaning of existence itself, I would be most pleased to choose a counterpoint and engage you in debate. Let's choose a topic and see if we can best her. You choose a topic and begin the debate. The debate lasts a long time as the two of you exchange points and counterpoints, each attempting to methodically undermine the other's position. As you speak, a strange feeling begins to overcome you, a memory trying to surface. Oh, that's so great! We're getting a lot of memories back. Memories of a great hall begin to form in your mind. A vast place full of well-dressed elites. A formal ball was taking place. Before you was a small, impeccably dressed fellow who wore a golden medallion. It was emblazoned with a symbol you dimly recall as Sign of One. Two of you stood in a circle of onlookers who gathered to listen to your debate. But that's impossible, the man was saying, looking perplexed. Oh, but it is, you recall yourself replying. I've made several inarguable points and given you a number of examples. You simply don't exist. But you can't. Were I to accept that, yes, you'd cease to exist. And without a flash of light or puff of smoke, with no fanfare of any sort, the man was simply gone. The onlookers oohed and awed, some clapped. You remember giving a flourished bow and walking away, a small, satisfied smile upon your lips. You suddenly realize Delora is watching you closely. Are you feeling well? We might finish our discussion another time, should you like. No, let's continue the debate. As hard-pressed as you are to beat Delora's infallible sense of logic, you eventually win out. She merely nods in approval. You're a most skilled debater. There's no denying. You didn't refer to me being a master debater, did you? Sorry. I do feel, though, that had I time to perform some research, you might not have bested me. Perhaps not. I'd consider that an unfair advantage, though. Delora nods. If you would like, we can debate once more upon the same topic. I could argue your position this time, should you desire it. Wait, are you always so ruthless in a debate? Delora nods. Mistress Grace instructed me to show no mercy, for another of her students always allows a patron to win after a lengthy debate. It was Mistress Grace's desire that I provide a different sort of experience for the clientele. Interesting. I understand. I had some questions for you. Delora cast her eyes to the floor with a sound that might be a sad sigh. I'm willing to serve you as a patron, but I have no wish to answer other questions at this time. My apologies, but I fear you shall simply have to bear with that for the time being. What's wrong? Is there anything I could help you with?
Updated my journal.
She looks up from the floor into your eyes. Once more you're struck by a pale smoothness of skin, the cold depths of her silvery eyes. No, I fear not. My troubles are a matter of the heart. In time, I think all things shall be resolved. Are you certain there's nothing I could do? Certain? Delora pauses as if thinking. No, I'm not. My first love, Merriman, possesses still the keys to my heart. So long as he has them, I shan't be free to love another. This is the cause of my melancholy. Well, why don't you seek him out and speak with him? Delora shakes her head. I may not leave this place. The reasons why are deeply personal, and not to be shared with strangers, even ones who might bestow a kindness upon me. But suffice to say that I cannot seek out Merriman myself. Then I'll find this Merriman and speak to him on your behalf.
Updated my journal.
She nods, the slightest hint of a smile appearing on her lips. She bows her head. Were you to find and speak with Merriman, I would be most grateful. He is a member of the Society of Sensation, so you may wish to ask for him at the Civic Fest Hall. All right.
All right.
Yevis the Tail Chaser. This fetching young woman has a faraway look in her soft sea green eyes. Greetings. Greetings. I am Yevis the Tail Chaser. Yevis? Mort. What a coincidence. I too chase tails. Ha ha! Yevis continues unperturbed. Have you come to trade tales? I'd like to trade tales. I would like that very much. Yes. Let's tell her the story of waking up in the mortuary. Yevis leans towards you as you tell the tale of your wakening in the dustman's mortuary. She seems to devour your every word. As you finish, she smiles at you. I shall remember this tale. I too will tell a tale of dustmen, chapters of dust. Go on. There are chapters in the Dead Book, the massive tome which the dustmen keep that records the passing of all lives into the eternal boundary. That's the book Dahl was working in, I believe. In this book, there are chapters that are not but dust, and it is believed that the names therein are lost souls who cannot die. But must suffer life eternally until history itself dies and grants them release. I have another tale to share with you. Let's tell her the story of the Alley of Lingering Sighs. Yevis leans forward as you tell the tale of the alley giving birth. She seems to devour your every word. As you finish, she smiles at you. I shall remember this tale now, for I have one for you. Before I begin, I must ask, do you know what a modron is? No. Modrons are creatures of total law. Almost more machinery than living things. There are many different sorts of Modron, but all have their place in a very rigid, carefully organized hierarchy. So dedicated are they to the system that they cannot communicate with or even consider the existence of Modrons who are not their immediate superiors or inferiors. I understand now. And I shall tell you the tale of the clock and the quadrant. Go on. Once upon a time there existed a Modron. It was newly created, its logic fresh and untested, and it had come to Sigil, following the commands of its Modron superiors. I knew of nothing but commands. It knew nothing but commands and dictates of obedience and passing along the orders of its superiors. For you see, Modrons are only aware of the commands of their immediate superiors. They have no grasp of a higher authority. Until this one. One day it came upon a small shop, within which there was a small clock that could no longer tell time. It was cracked along the edges, the wheels of its hands broken. The Modron immediately set itself to work in getting the parts to fix the broken clock. It made a new wooden housing for the clock's parts, replaced the bent springs, carefully filled and oiled the clockwork machinery, and carved new hands from the spare metal available to it. The newly repaired clock's precise ticking reminded it of the great gears of the Mechanus, and comforted it as much as anything may comfort a Modron. And it comforted it as much as anything may comfort a Modron. And what the Modron never came to understand was that it truly loved this clock that it had worked on, and for reasons it could not explain, elected to remain in Sigil and be with the clock for the rest of its years. I have another tale. Let's tell her the tale of the Silent King. Yevis leans forward as you tell the tale of the hidden nation of the undead, ruled by a corpse who hasn't spoken in 1,000 years. She seems to devour your every word. As you finish, she smiles at you. I shall remember this tale, and now I have one for you. The petitioner at the gate. It was far after peak when the distant pounding was heard at the gates of the prison. Karras, the oldest mercy killer known to the faction, dragged himself from his post, making his way down the hall to the great gates that separated the punished from the outside world. The pounding did not fade as he reached the gate and spoke to it. He called out and received no answer. He opened the gate, far from feeling caution, but a strange, compelling sensation. A haggard figure was on bent knees just beyond the door. His hands were bloody from where they had been pounding against the gate, and her breath came in labored gasps. As the flickering light from the interior prison chamber poured across the cobbles, she glanced up at the mercy killer who had framed in the doorway, and began to sob with relief. He felt himself mirrored in all but his gender as he stared at the woman, and he was stirred by her presence. Karras found himself unsure of what to say, so he simply waited for the woman to provide an explanation. She did. It was a simple statement, but of the utmost importance, and it made Karras, whose knees ached painfully with every movement, bend down and help the woman to her feet. He brought her in from outside, guiding her gently into the passage beyond. She had said that an injustice had been done, and that it was all Karras needed to hear. In the end, it came to pass that she could not fulfill her duty as a Fury, for a man guilty of a blood crime had died unpunished. She begged Karras and the Mercy Killers for aid, and so they executed her. She had failed in her charge. So tell her the story of the Dream Builder. She responds, and then she wants to tell us the beekeeper's tale. The beekeeper's tale. Once upon a time, a man came into a field of hives. Upon this field he heard thousands of bees, but there was not a single bee to be seen. Amongst the hives walked a beekeeper who was extracting the honeycomb from an apparently empty beehives. Yet, despite the lack of insects, the drone continued. The man was mystified. He made to speak with the beekeeper, who lifted his hood to reveal a creature made entirely of bees. A mouth-shaped depression formed in the mass of insects which made up the thing's face. The depression moved as the creature spoke, but the drone was such that its words could not be understood. The man died at that moment, trying to understand what the beekeeper had said. Let's share the tale of Reekwind. Yevis leans... Okay, she leans forward and listens. Now she wants to tell us the gilded tale. Go on. Upon the plain of Ysgard in the Gilded Hall were those sensates that seek pleasure of the gullet and loin can be found. They indulge these passions in earnest, never realizing that the doors of the hall never open and that there is no clear path back to the civic fest hall. They are unwanted sensates, the ones that do not truly believe in faction, but instead only pleasure for pleasure's sake. Are prisoners who do not realize they are such truly prisoners? Alright. I think I butchered that, but... Ask one of your companions if they have a story to tell. Mort? Me? Why do I have to tell a story? Just tell a story, Mort. Fine. An elderly man was sitting alone on a dark path, right? He wasn't certain of which direction to go. He had forgotten both where he was traveling to and who he was. He sat down for a moment to rest his weary legs and then suddenly looked up to see an elderly woman before him. She grinned toothlessly with a cackle and spoke, "Now your third wish. What will it be?" That's interesting. Is he preluding us and Ravel? Go on. Third wish? The man was baffled. How could it be a third wish if I haven't had the first and second? You've had 2 wishes already, the hag said. Mort, you didn't disguise this well. But your second wish was for me to return everything to the way it was before you had made your first wish. That's why you remember nothing. Anyway, everything is the way that it was before any wishes. She cackled at the poor bird. So it is you that have 1 wish left. All right then, the man said. I don't believe this, but there is no harm in wishing. I wish to know who I am. Funny, said the old woman, as she granted his wish, then disappeared forever. That was your first wish. She smiles. An interesting tale. Okay, we need to come back to this because we don't have time to read the next one. But that was interesting. That sounds like it could have been us and Ravel. That's interesting. So let me go ahead and end it here, and then we'll pick it up in the next one. So thank you very much for watching, and I really hope you all join me for the next one.